So, Mr. Excel has been giving Excel seminars in different cities in the US. And let's say that we want to add up the totals. So, for all the different roots, we want to add up the numbers. It seems like a very simple thing. But watch what happens. If I take this, all the data, and I insert a very quick pivot table, which should be very simple, when we look at this, we're going to drop in the root into the row label area, which is, let me just move this up here, and we're going to take the miles and put it over there. So this is just a sample, but the problem is you can see that here you've got Cleveland to Atlanta, and here you have Atlanta, to Cleveland. So those two things are the same, but they're not adding up. Now we could maybe create a calculated item, manually create various ones of these, but imagine if you have flight routes from all over the world and they're kind of going back and forth like this. Now we can probably find more of these. Here's Chicago, I think it is, to Cleveland, and then up here we have Cleveland to Chicago. So really you'd want to add those two up together. Now there is a way to do this because I've had this question several times. So here's what we can do. Let's insert a couple of helper columns, and I like to insert them in the middle so that when we refresh the pivot, we will see these fields automatically. Okay, so I could probably do some really fancy array formula, but if we just do this in 3 steps, all we have to do is pull out the codes first, so the left 3 of this, and we're going to drag that all the way down. And then we're going to say, let's just call this left, and here we're going to call it right. And very quickly, right in there, we're going to do the right function of this cell, pull out, and they're always 3 letters long. So we do that all the way down. Now, what we have to do next is simply to say equals this greater than that. Okay, so it says false. Now we're just going to drag this all the way down, and you see we're going to get true and false values. So it doesn't really matter what we do, which way we do it next. Let's just call this true, false. But we just want to get them so that they're in the same order, right? So it's always Chicago to Cleveland, never back and forth, Cleveland to Chicago or Chicago to Cleveland. So now we just go like this and say, if this equals false, then we want to take this and we're going to put a little minus sign to make it look the same, and that, else we want to do the opposite and say this one and that and this one. All right, so we do this and we drag it all the way down, and now we call it root, root 2. Now what we can do is take these two, let's just go back to the original pivot. So we have this, and just so that you can see it side by side, let's copy paste, and now I'm going to come in here and refresh it. Now we get our root 2, so I'm going to take out the original root, put in root 2, and now you see that it's working because it's shorter. Let's make sure. So Cleveland and Atlanta, 127,000 miles. And by the way, I just kind of made up this data. So we're going to go in here and add the two together. Atlanta to Cleveland, Cleveland to Atlanta. If I click both of them, the bottom right hand corner, I see that yes, it does add up to the correct value. So very quick, very simple. Just pull out the left values, the right values, and then do this little helper column to sort of sort it. This is basically just sorting it alphabetically, which one comes first. And now we're all in this new column, we're always going to get them in the same order, as long as the order doesn't matter, right? And then here we have the correct totals.